All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of. I couldn't do it. I wanted to so bad. Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's your host, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network. We're happy to have a sponsor, a good sponsor this year. Same sponsors last year in Gear Up Sports, sponsored by Gear Up Sports, a youth sports platform focusing on solving the uniform and apparel headache for coaches. If you're a youth or high school coach, need uniforms or player packs, please contact them at www.gearupwithus.com and make sure to mention the R&R. You can check out our merch store over there as well. Thorny, we're back. Week 2. We're on the train. It's going. It's not going to stop for a long time. We're going to talk offense tonight. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Yeah, it's pretty funny the timing. We actually recorded last week, and it worked out perfectly. We're going to have like 2 episodes here to talk one offense, next week defense, and then all of a sudden it's New Mexico game preview week. So we are, yes, on the train, and it is going to chug along all the way to hopefully January. Oh, man, we got a busy few months coming up.
Woo.
Break time's over.
It's almost like we did it on purpose. We just planned it out perfectly. I know we had that.
We have internal clocks, I think. We've done this so long. It's like, all right, let's start doing it now. Oh, look, that worked out perfectly. We just stumbling into excellence.
Yeah. Oh, man, like all this week, too, I had text messages and a couple messages online from listeners just saying, hey, it's good to hear you guys again. And it just reminded me of this football season. And it was kind of like that for me last week when we recorded. I was like, man, it finally felt like football season once we got putting an episode out. So thanks to all you for listening, and always fills your buckets when we get those nice messages like that. All right, today I think let's just do a rundown. We'll get into it because we got a lot. We're gonna run down the FCS top 25 that came out today. We're gonna talk something that Thorny and I were just punting back and forth. We're gonna talk about fan lethargy. I know Thorny thinks I say that weird.
I'm pretty sure it's lethargy. But now my whole world is thrown into, am I been wrong my whole life? Please tell us how you pronounce that word. I'm pretty sure it's not lethargy. That sounds like a disease.
Well, it could be in the fan base because you don't want to get it. And we're going to talk about how does Montana State not succumb to basically fan apathy. What's going on with programs that were big at one point and then continued to win, and all of a sudden they start seeing winning interest. And we'll cite some examples. We'll talk about that because we've noticed it a little bit in us, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll talk about that. But today's major thing is going to be the offense. Next week will be the defense, and then we'll go into our Golden Coolie questions. And specifically, I'm going to couch any defensive Golden Coolie questions. I know you, Roger Fisher, sent a good one in, but I'm not going to talk about that one until next week. We'll keep it all offense today.
Sounds good, man. Can't wait to actually start talking a little bit of personnel, a little bit of philosophy, a little bit of what we're expecting to see and hopeful for.
Yeah, Bobcat football last week was Big Sky heavy.
That's true.
Now we're into
it's Bobcat time.
All right, but first, let's talk about what's in our Golden Coolie.
What's in your Golden Coolie?
It still makes me laugh. It's still weird hearing my voice do that stupid, old-timey voice. I have Bitterroot Brewing Sawtooth Ridge Golden Ale. The Last Brew, 1998, Bitterroot Brewing.
Is that the brown?
It's got it's a gold can. It's a gold nail.
Oh, okay.
It's got a little half sawed off
Log.
Log. There you go.
It's a log.
Half of it's a mountain, half of it's the log. The rings inside of a log, whatever those are called. They have a special name, I'm pretty sure.
Tree rings.
Are they just
Just
tree
those.
rings? It sounds way
Yeah.
more lame than I was thinking.
All right. Hey, Bitterroot Brewing, one of my favorite breweries in Montana. Shout out to those guys. They make a stellar IPA. I know you wouldn't know that, but I mean the can, everything about it. And they make what's in the green can that they have? It's not the prickly pear. Let's not go down that route again. But they also have. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I used to get it quite often. Single hop, I think it's called.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Anyways,
Sorry.
feel bad. All right. Nice. Oh, by the way, never mind. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I was gonna ask you. You played the intro on that the beer segment, and I was like, "Are we missing something there?" It feels like you say something normally, but
Yeah. Yep. We haven't secured a sponsor for that.
yeah. Okay.
So if
I was
anyone's
just-
interested,
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. I got something my wife brought back. So, Thorny, little backstory. Holy cow, dude. I've been single parent for 5 nights in a row. The most I've ever had to single parent. Glad to say no one died. No major fights. A lot of good things with the Foley boys were hunkering down. My wife went over to Oregon, Brookings, Oregon, to see her sister. She brought back, it's called Kiwanda Pelican Brewing. Are you familiar with Pelican Brewing?
I know Pelican.
Oregon Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Tillamook. This is a crisp, clean, amazing, is what they say. Ale, 5.4 fluid ounces, and yeah, they just basically say it's like tastes like the beach. I don't know.
Does it?
It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's crisp. It's refreshing. It's gonna be gone pretty quick. It's pretty hot over here, so down the gullet.
That's right. You don't have central air, do you?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well, then what do you
It's
complain
still
about
hot.
the heat? Okay. You just
It's
keep
still
it nice and hot.
Yeah.
Keep those bills down.
All right, man. All right. So that's in our Golden Coolies.
All right.
Sponsored
that we've
by.
Said
be
that. We're lubricated. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, I think the first thing we're going to do is talk top 25. Came out today. FCS stats, the real one, not the fake one, not the Craig Haley one. Let me click into it. Sorry, Craig, if you're listening, but not really. All right.
You're just saying it's not his personal poll. It's his compilation poll that he puts together. I mean, it's still Craig Haley.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he runs that whole business, pretty sure.
No. Well,
anyway.
I'll take it back then. All right. South Dakota State's number 1. Number 2, North Dakota State. Number 3, Montana. And number 4, Montana State.
Hey, we got a first place vote.
Yeah, I saw that. That was
Who do you
crazy.
think did that? Brent Vigen.
South Dakota is number 5, Villanova. Number 6, Idaho, the Vandals. Number 7, Sac State. Number 8. Number 9 is Chattanooga. And your top 10 is Southern Illinois. I do believe there's a couple more in there. UC Davis comes in at 18. Weber State, 22. And look, we talked about last week, North Dakota, number 24.
Yeah, they are top
Eastern
25.
Washington
I didn't
was
think they
getting
would
votes.
be, but yeah, they're right there.
Yeah.
So how many Big Sky schools is that? It's like half the
Oh.
conference.
Probably 5, I think.
Man, what is the FCS coming down to? This is a whole
The Missouri
podcast
Valley.
to be separate. If the top 6 Big Sky teams are all top 25 teams, that's just not that fun. It's no different than the FBS, man. We're just like the Power 2. It's like the Missouri Football Conference and us.
The top
Nothing
4.
else matters.
Top 4. Going to be your top 4. And it just seems like there's just a gap between the top 4 and everybody else at this point.
Yeah, because who's number 5? South Dakota. Yeah, there's no South Dakota's not in the same ballpark as the Dakotas and Montana schools. I don't think.
No.
Anyway,
Let's
all right.
let's give 'em, if it holds chalk through, and we're sitting here in January, late December, and it's those 4 teams remaining, it's going to be exciting football.
I
Holy
mean, it always
smokes.
comes down to scheduling too, right? Like
Yeah.
the Cats had a brutal schedule last year,
Holy smokes.
so you never know. You just gotta look at the schedule and see how things shake out. But yeah, that'll be
One thing
exciting. That's good for the FCS in some ways. Those are kind of the brand names that people expect, and you kind of want, them going deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you don't want North Dakota State coming to Bozeman round 1. This is a stupid thing.
It was stupid. It was
Come
stupid.
on.
I mean, that's part of the lethargy. Is how the last season ended. Do we want to just dive right into that?
Yeah.
You just brought that up. I've been thinking about this. So I have been feeling, fairly just not interested in Bobcat football for basically all the way up until like July. Like spring on through July. I got really interested in basketball season. So I think part of it is basketball has been so exciting. Like all these Big Sky Conference runs, making it to the tournament, it completely takes your mind off of football. That hasn't been the case historically. The Cats go through the basketball season, limp into the tournament, lose round 1. You're done in February or early March, whatever it is, and good, done. Now let's go talk about football again. But I think the fact that the basketball program is doing so well, the men's and the women's, gives you something else to enjoy for a while. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I think part of it too is the sustained success that we've had. 8-4, 9-3, whatever it comes down to, 14 games, 15 games, but not actually getting over the hump and winning the national championship. And then the watering down of the FCS.
That's part of it.
Yeah, like you play a ton of teams and you're like, who actually matters? Well, does Weber still matter? Not like they used to. I mean, they're still Weber.
I mean, I feel the conference is still kind of the conference, but then you just look out, so many teams have bolted for the FBS, like so many of the powers. So I think it's part of the FBS is getting watered down, and you got also this feeling, for me, all these teams moving up. Well, I think you and I are both kind of on the pro moving up train, so it's kind of like, well, great, all these teams are leaving, it's watering it down, but then we're kind of getting left behind a little bit. So it's like this double whammy of. Bleh.
It's more than that, though. It's just society now. Like people just want instant gratification.
Here we go.
Instant.
Here's fully old man speech.
They want it all, and they want it now, and it's a challenge. Like for real. Like I really feel like Leon and Montana State has a challenge ahead of them because let's go. If Montana State goes 8-4 again this year, holy cow, 8-4 is going to get us into the playoffs. But a lot of people are going to be a little bit upset, and then those 22,000 people now go down to 20,000 people. I don't know. It's just when you're good for so long, what's there to look forward to if you're not winning national championships? And even couple programs that come to mind. North Dakota State, like well documented, they're not even selling out their stadium anymore, right? Even in the playoffs, they just wait. And to me, I saw this front and center, kind of this fan lethargy creep in when I was living down in Nampa, Idaho. I was a young teacher, first year teacher, second year teacher. I saw Boise State win the Fiesta Bowl, arguably probably one of the best football games ever played. And Boise State, that's the pinnacle for them. They're never going to get anything more than that. And then how do you continue to capture that relevance?
Boise State, it's a good example in some ways, but part of it too is Boise State got shut out by the powers. They shut the door after that. They're like, all right, we're not letting a team like Boise State come in and wreck this entire thing. So there's a lot of things that went against Boise State's way to keep them down, to keep the little man down, basically.
Yeah, they did. And they started shopping conferences and all that stuff started. That was kind of
then they realized it. So they started trying to get themselves in a bigger conference. And then, I mean, now they just can't win as many football games. So now they're kind of, permanently. How do they get back? How do they ever get back to that glory day?
So where you were saying Montana State basketball feels fresh and exciting, and it is, Montana State has had now quite a bit of success, and the fans are going, all right, let's get past North Dakota State. Let's win that game, right? Let's win a national championship. And if we keep trotting out a 3-loss season, which is like people would die for, but get used to it after a while. You get spoiled, and like I said, today's society gets a little bit like, well, what's next? Because I'm scrolling past this now because it just feels so predictable.
Yeah. I need to circle back to basically what started this entire conversation. I think last year ended in kind of unique fashion, getting smoked by the Grizz and then losing to a team that we finally like, all right, well, at least we finally get the Bison at home because we're sick of going to Fargo. And then it ends the way that it ends. Back-to-back game, tough losses, Tommy getting hurt again. It's just there was too many salt on the wounds way to end that, on old wounds to end that season. So I think that played a big part of it. That was a unique set of circumstances. Like if we had won a couple games and then that was like, a quarter or a semifinal matchup against North Dakota State, I think we'd be feeling a bit different. Even the loss sucked, but it was just the back-to-back Grizz. Okay, chance to wash the taste out of your mouth, and then the Bison do that in the way that they did it. It was a horrible way to end a season. Just absolute, just demoralizing.
Yeah. And it just feels like for fans who are our age, the cardiac cat's not coming up. You're like, oh, we lost another really close game. And that was the tail of the tail last season was we lost 3 games with what, like 8 points?
How many times have you and I lamented about every time the Cats lose a big game, we get crushed? So at least there was that. They were all close games. Now we know what that feels like. Which one's worse?
And I'm not saying this is going to happen this year because Montana State has a ton of new flashy things. We have new parking lot. We have the indoor practice facility. We have the new scoreboard. So all this stuff is new, and it's just continuing to create momentum. But for me, I'm like, okay, I'm always going to be a huge fan. But yes, my attention to Bobcat football in the off season was like, I don't know. We'll just wait for it to come around. I wasn't like digging for those articles. Well, maybe it was the basketball success that helped me out, but I don't know. It's just like 8-4. It just felt like the last couple of years we didn't go very far in the playoffs. Oh well. So, I mean,
well, all the
State
single
gets
game
8-4. They're just on the moon, right? So
Yeah.
we're just battling that. That's all we're talking about.
That's true. But I did see that I think every single game, home game, single game tickets are sold out already.
Yeah.
So
nice.
That's a month before a home game.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of like kind of lethargy, I felt a little bit when I saw the Gold Rush t-shirt. Basically a rebranding of last year's t-shirt it's like, what did you think about that with the rodeo team coming out, which is awesome, but I thought they missed the ball on that one.
I don't know. It's just there's only so many designs you can end up doing, I feel, right?
But the one with the stadium, the Gold Rush Stadium thing, that was fresh, and I really like that one.
I don't know. When I saw it, I'm like, I mean, I'm going to order it because I ordered them all, but that one didn't pique my interest all that much, but most of them really don't, though, to be honest. Like, it's a Gold Rush shirt. Like, it's cool. I like having them, but
don't you always wear it and then like don't wash it until you lose?
Pretty much, yeah. Wear it until we lose, and I don't wash it.
Got the Vim soaking in it.
Lots of Vim. But I'll probably wear it for the first game. So if we lose to New Mexico, it'll be washed real quick.
Well, you can't do that. You gotta wait. You gotta wait 2 games before we even wear that Gold Rush shirt.
I'm trying to think. Like, do I typically just wear it off the bat?
No, you don't. You wear if the Gold Rush game is right off the bat. Yeah,
I don't know though. I don't remember what I do. That's interesting.
Good question. We played 2 away games before we even come home to September 7th and play the Gold Rush game. That's crazy. That's different.
All right. Enough about complaining about Bobcat fans being not engaged. Please be engaged with our content now, please.
Yeah. I would be interested to hear what you guys think about it. Did a little bit of apathy creep in over this past season for some of you?
Apathy.
It did for us. So just contact us somehow. Let us know. Are we wrong? Are we off base here? I don't know. All right. Let's get into the offense. Let's talk the offense.
Let's
All right. So
do it.
let's talk about some offensive returners. So there's no structure for this. I have some thoughts on the story of last year pertaining to the offense. Next week we'll go full defense. But there's some points I want to make. But let's just go through some personnel first, okay? We'll get into the too deep in a moment, but just offensive returners, starters returning. We have Julius Davis, who I'm not sure he's going to start. I think he's still kind of, I don't know, hurt.
Yeah, I think he's dinged up. According to Vegan, he slow recovery. Might miss August into September.
Okay,
but who knows?
That's better than when I first heard about it. The prognosis on it. So if that's all he misses,
I mean, he's being mum about it. There's no time frame.
Yeah.
So who knows?
They're not going to tell us.
They're not going to tell anybody.
All right, Ty McCullough, wide receiver, he's coming back. I don't know if you heard about him or a guy named Tommy Malott. He's returning. Connor Moore, offensive tackle. Justice Perkins, who started like 44 games. Like, that is so stinking hard to do.
It is.
Like, applause button right now.
The last guy I remember starting that many games for the Cats, I think, was John Weidenauer. That guy started like 40 some odd games in a row. He was like Iron Man.
Justice said, he was like, I've been playing center since middle school, so I really don't know anything different. So, gosh, that guy is awesome. So what a face for the program. JT Reed, offensive guard. Cole Sane, coming back for a graduate year. Gosh, hey, Cole, if you're listening, stay healthy, brother. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, he's dinged up right now.
Oh, man. It's like the story of his life as a Bobcat, right?
Yeah, they tweeted it out. Victor tweeted it out a few days ago.
Man, I feel bad. Jacob Trimble's coming back and Mark Square. So those are your starters returning. Starters lost from the offense. We lost Omar Abidian, Shane Pickering, Rush Schreimer, and Cleveland Thomas.
Cleveland, I forgot about Cleveland. I like that guy.
CTU is so good. Let's see, some other lettermen lost, not specific starters, but on the offense we have Luke Abshire, Spokane boy, just got engaged, or I think he just got married actually. So he just taking a different path right there. Christian Naya went to the transfer portal. Sean Chambers, who's on staff, ironically. Garrett Kuhn, Jacob Kettles, tight end Elijah Reynolds, offensive guard Aaron Richards, Holden Sampson, who's becoming a teacher, good for him. Derek Snell, Lane Sumner, and Tavian Williams. So those were other lettermen lost.
3 offensive linemen transfers. Woohoo. Kettles, Abidian, and Reimer.
There you go. We also lost, non-starter returning. So these are guys that are non-starters that are returning, or lettermen, excuse me. Colson Kuhn, Taco Dollar's coming back. We have Elijah Elliott, who I'm just driving that fan chain for him all season long.
Yes.
Jump on it, please, everybody. I'm a huge fan of Elijah Elliott.
Me too, man.
You will be hearing that a lot in this microphone. Aiden Garrigan, Scott Tree Humphrey, Marquis Johnson, a big fan of Marquis as well. Adam Jones, he's a guy I think he's going to take a huge step in the program this year. I have a little bold prediction about that. Oh, yeah, I got a little buy or sell for us too there, Thorny. So there it is.
Nice.
Ryan Lonergan, Burke Mastel, he's going to get some time on the offensive line. Hunter Provience and QB Jordan Reed. Oh, I forgot about Jared White.
Can't forget about Jared White, man.
Oh, how can you, right?
Like the media
returning squad members, as this document puts them, not lettermen. We finally get to see Lanata. He's going to play. We feel like we've been hearing about this guy for over 2 years, because we have. Zachary Dotson.
He's listed as a junior still, right? I think I saw I was looking at the roster today. I think he's still a junior.
Yeah. So Zachary Dobson Green, wide receiver. Hopefully he gets some catches in there. I feel like I've seen him on the depth chart once in a while, but just hasn't been able to crack through. Titan Fleischman, offensive tackle. Tommy Nilsson, offensive line. Jaden Perkins. Yeah, another Perkins boy. That's right. You probably knew about that. Ryan Schlepp and then Garrett Walke, wide receiver. So some depth guys that we didn't really talk about. Some names you probably do know. And then some red shirts. So we got Everett Carr coming in on. He's wide. Everett Carr is an offensive tackle. Excuse me. Tom Carter out of Helena. He's a wide receiver. Patrick Duchesne, quarterback. Offensive tackle Cedric Jefferson. He actually got a couple. He got into some games last year, if I remember right. Javonte King. I think that's the name you're going to hear. He's going to catch some touchdowns this year. Jonathan Lumen, offensive guard. Max Murphy, fullback. Zach Nyland, offensive guard. Luke Smith, tight end. And Chance Wilson is a quarterback. Do you want to go over the high schoolers that are coming in?
No, man, I think we're good.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Unless you think anybody's possibly, why don't we put it this way? Is anybody on that high school incoming list someone that you think could be playing?
Cash, a name I keep hearing is Dane Steele, wide receiver. He just keeps coming up a lot in some of the player interviews that he's just looking really good.
It's such a crowded room, though, man. Like, you think a freshman's going to come in and play?
Yeah, Coach Judy mentioned him in his little after practice conference he had. So I don't know, maybe not. I imagine, he's definitely not going to start unless we need him to. God forbid.
Yeah.
Right. So he might get one of those games where
the guy who might play would be Ontario Latin Henley.
Ooh, yeah.
Just because we can't seem to keep a running back room healthy, and we like to play like 5 running backs. So, if anything, just get down to the attrition. He got to come in.
I do think we will see Dane Steele in the first 4 games.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'd bet that.
But, we got some guys that we haven't even seen or heard from. Like, we got 2 kings. 2 wide receiver kings, which is just funny. It's funny stuff.
Oh, I forgot to mention the transfers coming in.
Oh, yeah, that's an important one. Yeah, do the transfers.
So offensive lineman Samora Ezekiel. I imagine he's going to have some playing time. Rohan Jones, who was named in the first, he hasn't played a snap for the Montana State Bobcats. First team all preseason already. Tight end or fullback. Basically fullback. Ryan King, he just had an interview today for 06. And Dylan Rollins, name a lot of Montana folks know, offensive line. So some big names in that incoming list right there.
Yeah, Ryan King, by the way of Georgia Tech, then ECU, East Carolina, and then find his way to Montana State. 6'4", 216-pound junior. I was just looking at this guy's stuff real quick. He was like a top 75 wide receiver recruit coming out of high school. He had like offers to pretty much everybody: Texas, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Arkansas. Like, he had some big time offers. So we'll see. You never know. The guy who sticks around and comes down to the FCS, sometimes those kinds of guys can really pan out, and sometimes they just kind of, they just never amount to much. It's kind of a crapshoot. But you take a guy like that with those kind of assumed athleticism and abilities, you take them every day if they want to become a Bobcat.
And I think Montana State has enough culture where they just don't have to play a guy because of his pedigree. If he doesn't buy into the system, he doesn't buy into being a Bobcat, then you're not playing.
Then you get beat out by Dane Steele.
Yeah, exactly. Cool thing about Ryan King, he talked a little bit about his Georgia Tech experience. He said he got mentored by Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson, I forgot, played for Georgia Tech. Megatron, right?
Was he a coach there, Calvin Johnson?
No.
Well, how's he mentored? He's
done anything besides going to the Hall of Fame after he.
Well, how was he mentored by him as a kid?
Like I said, Calvin Johnson is an alumni of Georgia Tech, so probably was hanging around campus.
Oh,
just reached out.
Okay.
Similar body size, big dudes. Yeah. He said he had like a 40 or 48 inch vertical. I'm gonna screw that one up. And he says he runs 4.4, like all receivers do.
Yeah, every receiver's gonna say that. Some of them believe it. Some of them don't. Doesn't matter. They're gonna say it.
I got a 48 inch vertical and I run a 4.4. All right. So, Thorny, why don't you give us the Too Deep, and then we'll get into some stuff.
All right, looking at the Too Deep. Let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. Left tackle, got Connor Moore is the slated starter there. Left guard, JT Reed or Burke Mastel. I think there's some competition at the guard spots, both of them. Center, you got Justice Perkins, the stalwart. Right guard, you got Cole Sane or Dylan Rollins, so that's the other battle to look out for. And then right tackle, the highest graded lineman last year in the FCS, Marcus Ware, coming back for his senior season. Please stay healthy. If you want to talk about guys staying healthy, Marcus Ware, love for that guy to stay healthy. So he's backed up by Titan Fleischman, and Connor Moore is backed up by Cedric Jefferson. And then Justice Perkins is backed up by Zach Nyland, who vaguely sounds familiar. I'm not entirely sure if I know who that is. I think they need someone else. I think Cole Sane can take some snaps. I don't know if Zach Nyland's actually going to be the backup.
He's a freshman. So
my speculation. Quarterback, we got Tommy. Touchdown Tommy Mellott. Easy peasy. No or there. No dual system happening this year. Running back is slated to be Julius Davis and then backed up by Scotty Humphrey, but we know that's going to go way deeper than those two. And who knows when Davis will be able to actually go. So Humphrey probably the dude day one in New Mexico. That's kind of crazy because he is a sophomore. I thought he was listed as a freshman still, but X receiver Lanyata Alexander Jr. backed up by Javonte King. H receiver we got Taco Dowler and Jacob Trimble, who really had a pretty solid freshman campaign last year in the place of an Ender Taco Dowler. Had some ups and downs, but I think he's got a real big upside. So those two guys I think are really solid H receivers. I'm happy with either one of those guys starting. Z receiver Ty McCullough and backed up by Aiden Garrigan. Tight end, you got Ryan Lonergan looking for a breakout season, and Hunter Provience. And fullback Rohan Jones. The all preseason all conference Rohan Jones, backed up by Max Murphy, who I believe is a Billings kid. Just going off of my memory here, but there you go. There is the 2D. When do you want to talk about the specialists? I guess the offense or defense question.
We'll get to the specialists in a little bit. Don't worry about them.
Okay.
Let's serve up the juiciest one right away. Let's talk about Tommy Mellott.
Let's get right into it, man.
Yeah, so Tommy played 9 games last year. He had 203 plays. He rushed for 690 yards. He passed for 1,059. Averaged about 194.3 yards per game.
Total.
So total 1,749. Buy or sell, Thorny. Tommy will have 1,500 yards passing this year. Wow. Serious.
Yeah. You're selling?
Well, I mean, that's like...
I mean, he had almost 1,109 games. Assuming he stays healthy, yeah, he'll get 1,500 because he's not splitting reps anymore.
Oh, so that's the thing. Yes.
So if you add Tommy and Sean last year, they're at 1,900 yards between the two of them.
Could Tommy?
I'm sorry, 2,100 yards. It tells me 1,900 yards. Excuse me.
All right. How much would you bet? Would you put a bet down that he goes 1,500 through the air, 1,000 on the ground?
No, I don't think he'll do 1,000 on the ground. I'm hoping he doesn't.
Okay. From our boy Zach. Zach said, buy or sell, we have Tommy starts 9 or more games.
See, that's an interesting one. I'm gonna buy it this year because he's gonna stay healthy. Period. I got no real. I mean, you gotta have a plan though. If you're a coach, you're not assuming that.
Oh man, yeah. I'm gonna sell. I think Tommy. I don't even want to put it in existence. I just think players who get hurt. I've said that for many years, and it is who he is. You can't take the thoroughbred out of him. And there's a lot of chitter chatter. We're going to cover some of this in some of the Golden Coolie questions. Let's pull one up right now. Actually, I like when we actually sprinkle those in. I just don't think Tommy Mellott can be a tamed down version of Tommy Mellott. there's a couple golden coolie questions pertaining to this. Let's pop one in real quick. Let's see. Assuming Tommy can stay healthy all year, could this offense be one of the best FCS we've ever seen? Hold on to that, Bleeding Blue. We'll get back to that. Oh, here it is. Canyon Cat says, will Tommy be able to curb his run-first mentality and learn to trust his receivers? Can he learn to get down or go out of bounds when running instead of trying to get that extra yard? He says if he can do that, this team may be something special. What's your thoughts?
I'm not so concerned about him trying to get that extra yard every once in a while. It's just the fact that he doesn't throw the ball when he should. Like, if he's got Scotty Humphrey standing 3 yards in the flat beyond the line of scrimmage, just throw it to Scotty Humphrey and let him get 8 yards and let him take the hit, you know?
Yeah.
That's more what Tommy's just going to take off running. He needs to dump the ball off. When he's running, I think he makes okay decisions. I think he can learn to be better about not taking big hits, but he needs to just run less, and by doing that, dumping the ball off to someone else. Make the 5-yard pass instead of scrambling for 20 yards and getting clocked.
Yeah.
But I agree, though. It's like that's what makes him special, though. So it's really hard to take that out of his game. But I think he will distribute the ball more. But he's going to take hits. He's going to get hit. He's going to run an option and get crushed, even if he doesn't have the ball. It's just kind of how he plays and how our offense is run.
Just have that vision of him in the North Dakota State game, just getting caught there and then his knee just getting blasted into. It just makes me cringe. I wonder if Tyler Walker's being fed directions from Vegan, like, hey, this is how we're using him. Don't do this. Or if there's some free reign there. I'm sure this is a huge conversation in the offensive room.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of what I was talking about. It's what it is. What it is. Like, can the Cats go as far as Tommy's going to take them? And does Tommy need to be healthy for that to happen? Obviously, I think he does.
Well, I have some more thoughts on Tommy too, but I'm going to withhold them for right now because I want to talk when we talk more or less like overall what I think the offense should do, like what in order to take the next step. So we'll hold off on that.
Okay, well, I got a Golden Coolie question. I guess we can say that here. I think it's a good time to do it, unless it's something you want to table. Sam Hoff on Twitter asks us, will we see a 2 QB system this year?
Nope.
No, I don't think so, man.
Nope.
Every indication that I've seen and read and heard, and by all accounts, no. It's Tommy's show. Ask Ty McCullough whose show it is.
Yeah, right. It's a good point. I'm glad you said that. It's not to say we're not going to see another QB, right? Like sure. Utah Tech, we're blowing them out. Second game of the season. Jordan Reed's coming in, right? I mean, if we could put Jordan Reed for the whole second half, let's do it.
Now, there might be some tiny little packages here and there, but it's going to be nothing to the level that it was.
Yeah, no. And to be honest, I'm all for that. I was never I was just like, let Tommy cook, let Sean cook. It wasn't like it just seemed so contrived and so.
Last year seemed the most disjointed it had been.
Yeah, I think Ty talked about that. Ty McCullough talked about that. He's like, they couldn't just get in a rhythm, and it was like, yes, like during the North Dakota State game, you're like, of course, but Sean was hurt. It was just weird, man. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of how Taylor Housewright manipulated that, and I'm just glad we're just gonna have one guy and just go for it. I think it's gonna pay dividends.
Yeah, last year it seemed too much like it was on a script, like it was a schedule, and he didn't want to deviate from it. Even if one guy was cooking, it's like, nope. Well, this is when I put Sean in.
Yep, we're inside the 20s. Okay, Sean's coming in. Between the 20s, Tommy's going for it. Very predictable.
Yeah.
All right. Good question though. Okay. Any other of those starting offensive guys or just personnel that you want to just touch on before we get into like overall tendencies and what we saw going forward?
I mean, I think the offensive line is still going to be solid no matter who wins what spot. It's crazy to think that the Cats had 3 stud guys transfer out.
Yeah.
But here we are.
I was thinking about that today on my run. I was like, Rushheimer. I don't really think about that guy anymore. Omar Abidion. Really not thinking about that guy anymore.
I was so
good
excited
luck in
for
Baylor.
Omar,
good luck
though,
at Cal. Kind of
up-and-comer guy, though.
Who?
I was just so excited for Omar to be an up and coming just stud.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. Montana State just rolls out offensive linemen. And now we can absorb that, which is crazy because we absorbed other FBS transfers before that.
Yeah.
They just keep coming. Like, we still got Titan Fleischman on the roster backing up Marcus Ware. I think that guy's going to be a stud. He's just a sophomore, 296, 6'4". He could be starting, and I'd be okay with that.
Yep.
Dylan Rollins, man. It's crazy. The Cats are just still flush.
Dylan Rollins is going to have that old man strength, too.
A little bit of that. Yep.
And if you don't know, it's because he went on a mission for his religion. So
that's why Weber State always looks like just an NFL team when we play them. Doesn't make them great football players, but they all look big.
All right. Anybody else? Because I'm about to get kind of hot takey here, and I think it's going to be kind of fun.
Well, I'm not sure. Like, how in depth are we going here? Are you just going to start riffing in generalities after this?
Well, yeah.
Or is this my chance to really
kind
talk
of Wild
personnel?
West offensive? It's going? Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk some more players, we can go down some more players. I know you like doing that, so I'm giving you free reign to cherry pick some guys that you want to talk about.
All right. Well, I got somebody asked who the breakout is going to be in the wide receiver room. Johnny Longman on Twitter. Who is going to be the breakout wide receiver? Dowler, McCullough, Alexander, King, Steele, Garrigan. It's a great question. There's a lot of choices here, man. Can you pick Ty McCullough, or did he already kind of have a breakout, or can he break out even more?
I don't feel like I picked Taco Dowler last week.
Can Taco have a breakout? He's already kind of a known commodity.
Gosh, man, I felt bad for that kid. I saw an interview with him just recently, and he was still just getting eaten up by the pass that went off his face at Idaho. I don't want that if you would have caught.
How did it get brought up in an interview?
He brought it up. He's like, "Yeah, if I would have caught that, we would have won that game." But I don't want to talk about that a lot now. Right now.
That's a bummer. Like, if a guy's talking about that in a random interview, like, that's clearly still kind of eating him. Those are things that kind of can wreck you, man. He's got to get his head right after that.
Coach Udy talked about that. He's like, "Man, I wish Taco would move on," but something that about that is that's what drives him. It's what makes him great. So
right, well, if he's using it for positive motivation, then sure. And then keep harping on it. If it's going to drive you to be better, keep it in the mind. Yeah. I think it's going to be Launati Alexander, man. I have high hopes for him, and I don't know why. It's kind of how every Bobcat fan kind of fixates on one guy for whatever various reasons. Like, this is going to be the guy, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But for some reason, I just think Alexander in our system is going to be a dude. I know he's going to produce big numbers, but not the way we play football. But I think he's going to be a key player. He's got the size. He's got some speed, athleticism. I think he's going to be a big blocking wide receiver, and I think he's going to go up and get some jump balls, which we need.
So X receiver is not the slot receiver, right?
No, I think that's the H. Gosh, look at us being idiots. I think they had him Alexander at slot last year in the preseason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But judging of the two guys they have at X, I think it's an outside receiver because they got Javonte King backing him up at 6'4", 208. So they got two guys 6'3" and 6'4". So it can't be the slot. Or can it? Google, what is the X receiver?
Come on, Montana State. Can you just put it as slot? That would help us out here.
Yeah, we should know that. We really should.
Is this a Bill Lamberty thing? Come on, Bill. Probably not.
But I mean, it doesn't. I don't even think it matters where he's going to play. I have high hopes for him. Cole's going to just streak downfield and get some open touchdowns.
Yeah, he's the threat that's going to take off the top.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, big body, Lanata. We have another big body in Javonte King. We have another big body in the Ryan kid coming over.
Yeah, so tell us a little about Ryan King. Did you listen to his interview today, or you just saw there was one?
No, I listened to it. Well, seemed like a nice kid. You could tell he's bounced around. So when I was watching it, my thoughts were like, okay, here's a kid who started at what was it, like? It was like what was he like the 74th like receiver coming out of
Yeah, it's like
the nation or
73, I
something?
think, something like that. Yep.
Anyways, so it's a top prospect goes to Georgia Tech, goes to Eastern Carolina, now comes to Montana State. I don't know about you, Ryan. When you start seeing that bounce, you kind of I paint them a little bit. Get a little judgy. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you looking for? Why can't you work this out? So comes over. He's like, you could tell he's from the South. Man, look at the mountains. All the got to hike to him. It was crazy. All the people are so nice. It's so slow out here compared to the big city. I just nice Southern kid. That's all I really got from him. But talked about his speed. He talked about how high he can jump. He talked about playing or getting coached up from Megatron. That was all exciting. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen him move. You know, when you see a person move, then you get it. Like the first time I saw Ty McCullough move, I was like, oh, that's different. That's like Taco Dowler kind of smoothness. What's he look like when he moves? I haven't seen it.
One of the most striking occurrences of that for me is when I was in school. I used to be able to go to the practices once in a while. I remember seeing Michael Jefferson for the first time, and I was like,
Ooh.
"Who the hell is that?
Yeah.
Why is this guy here? This guy looks ridiculous."
Yeah.
And then he went on to like have like one of the best single seasons in Bobcat entire history because he's a 1 year guy back when that was still you could come for 1 year. Had an insane year and had a cup of tea in the NFL. That guy was a dude, man. But yeah, just looking at that guy, sometimes you just see a guy and I'm like, okay, I get why he was a top 100 prospect or whatever. Like Michael Jefferson, I think, was a 4-star recruit.
Yeah. Totally get it.
All right, that's all I really got. Running back room is going to be fun. I don't know. Let me scroll through the Twitter Golden Cool. Oh, this is a good question. We'll ask this in a little bit. Just remind me about it. See if there's any more personnel type questions. I think that about does it.
Okay.
That's all I really got. I think we covered the bases on everything. I think running back room, I assume we'll talk a little bit more here in a little bit when we talk philosophy and stuff. But man, deep room. Excited to talk about the running game in general.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about Ryan Foley's hot takes on what happened last season. So, since you document today, this was released from Montana State during the kickoff. And it kind of broke down some numbers. And the tail of the tape to me, some couple things popped out. For Montana State to take the next steps, this is what we're going to start talking about. So, my big thing going into next year is time possession. Montana State, in order to take the next step in the offense, needs to be a more grinding out, time of possession, hungry football team. So here's the stats. I'm just going to go down by game. Okay. Time of possession, where are we at on this? There it is. So we started off with Utah Tech. We possessed the ball 35 minutes to their 24 minutes. Okay. Won that game. Good stuff. South Dakota State, pretty good still. We possessed the ball 35 minutes. South Dakota State had 24 minutes. All right. Stetson, we actually lost the time of possession, 28 minutes. It's because we scored on like the first play almost every single time during that game. And Stetson had 31 minutes. All right. Weber State, even Stevens, like about 30-30. It was like 30-50 to 29-10. Portland State, we had the ball for 25. They had the ball for 34 minutes. Still won that game. Good stuff. Cal Poly, we had the ball for 28 minutes. They had the ball for 31 minutes. Sac State, we had the ball for 32 minutes. The Stingers had it for 27. Here's the one that kills me, Thorny. Idaho, we had the ball for 18 minutes total in that game. Idaho had the ball for 41.
Yeah, I remember that was very painful to watch that.
My blood boiling. Just thinking about that. 41 minutes. They outpossessed us by 22 minutes on that. Okay. Keeping it going. Let's see. So, yeah, 22 minutes. Damn it. Still gets me mad. Northern Arizona. We possessed the ball for 35 minutes. The Lumberjacks had it for 24 minutes. So we had it for about 12 more minutes than them. Okay. Eastern Washington, 29-30. Even Stevens. Montana. The Grizzlies, we possessed the ball for 25 minutes. They had it for 34 minutes. And for North Dakota State, we had it for 30 minutes. And then 30-29. So kind of even Stevens. So what I'm trying to get at is we didn't have a great defense last year that we relied upon. And the losses that we had, the teams outpossessed us, except for North Dakota State, which was at the very end. But you look at Idaho, you look at the Grizzlies, in the times where we struggled, we couldn't get off the field. We either scored too fast, didn't score enough, like couldn't convert. And we'll talk about third downs here in a moment. But I think Montana State could be that take a little. I just want to see some. I think Jeff Joe did this a little bit better, where we would have those long, sustaining 8-10 play drives that just chewed up clock. Just I don't know. I just think Montana State could possess the ball more, and it's going to help them out. It's going to help the defense out at least.
So you want yards per play to go down, explosiveness to go down.
Yes.
So we had a Golden Coolie question. What will our points per game be? And what were we? 39.9 last year. So you're probably going to say we're going to be less.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that, but I think our defense is going to be better this year too. So if we had last year's defense, I just think our offense scored too fast at times.
No, we did have trouble sustaining drives, and that I can't argue with. I do think time of possession is an overrated stat in college football.
All right. Well, thanks. That's my first point.
Look at the top 20 time of possession teams in the FCS. I pulled it up while you were talking. There's like nobody in there that was the only good team in there. There's North Dakota State and Idaho. And then I guess there's Albany. But it's just a bunch of teams like Merrimack and Southern Utah and Davidson and Cornell and Butler, Nichols. Portland State's number 17.
Montana's not up there?
Montana 25th. South Dakota State with 22nd.
Really?
So, I mean, honestly, they're not bad. I mean, Montana State was like all the way down at 69th. So we were not at nearly the same ballpark. But you need to be like, you still have to be good. But you don't have to be the best in the country or anything like that, I don't think.
I just think we could take people's souls if we just grind them out. And not just hit them with a home run right away. That's all I'm trying to get at.
Sure. Well, like you said, a better defense will help that too. I think the offense started to feel that they're going to have to win football games, which is never good. You want that balance where they can both rely on each other, not the defense thinking like, oh, great, well, we got to go make a stop because the offense isn't going to score any points. And conversely, you don't want the offense to be like, all right, the defense can't make a stop, but we better go out and score a ton of points. And there's a little bit of that last year. So there needs to be a good balance, and time possession would reflect that. But you're right, sustained drives and especially in the fourth quarter when you need to grind the clock out, I feel like we got conservative and just went like 3 and outs a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's part of it's like that's what they're talking about Tommy. Like, make that 6-yard pass instead of chucking a fade ball 40 yards down the field to a guy that's not Lance McCutcheon.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because that was my thing I was going to say about Tommy. Is like the next step for him is just take what's there.
No,
I'd rather have
that's what they're harping on.
A 2nd and 6 than a 2nd and 9, right?
That's all they're talking about. It's all Vigen's talking about. It's like make him plain, make him ordinary.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna put these two together: third down percentage and fourth down percentage. Third downs, we were 54 out of 122. So we converted on third down 44% of the time. And to be honest, I don't know what past years were like. but 44% on third down seems kind of low. Where it gets a little bit sketchy is when we start talking fourth down. Now, if you're going for it on fourth down with specifically our offensive line, we went for it for 15 times on fourth down last year. We only succeeded 8 of those 15 tries. 53%. That has to go up in order for us to do the next step. If you're going for it on fourth down and you're only getting half of those, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. With our O-line, unexcusable in my book.
We did have some really weird struggles with that. That was interesting.
Really weird.
So I'm looking at third down conversions. This one I think is definitely more applicable. You're looking at the number one third down conversion in the entire FCS, South Dakota State.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Holy Cross. Number 3, North Dakota State. Number 6, Sacramento State.
Do they give percentages?
South Dakota State was 53%.
Okay.
Their third down conversion, which is just bonkers. Now Montana State was 17th. Nothing to sneeze at.
Okay.
So I mean, you're converting 44% of your third down conversions. You should be winning quite a bit of football games. It's top 20, 17. Obviously, you want to creep that up because you creep it up a whole percentage, and it makes a difference.
Oh yeah,
that would put us at 45% instead of 44%. That's a game-changing percentage change. So certain something to work upon, but by no means I don't think the Bobcats were bad. The fourth down one's a little perplexing. I remember getting stuffed on some easy fourth downs plenty of times last year.
All right. My last thing I will nitpick on the Bobcats from last year has to be the field goals and the points after. So here's the statistics for the field goal. Field goals, 10 of 19.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh man,
I don't have to go look at the top stats on FCS to figure out that's a bad percentage.
10 of 19. What's a little bit more concerning to me, I mean, maybe equally as concerning, is our point afters. We went 57 for 63. We were only 90% on our point afters.
Well, this is going to be a bit jarring. We were recording last night. We were interrupted and had to cancel recording. Something came up, so we're bringing it back in. Apologies. This is going to be a very awkward transition, but not much else we can do about it. So, Foley, what were we talking about? We were talking about the kicking game, I believe.
Yeah, we're talking about the woes in the kicking game. Points after hitting about 90%, and our field goal makes about 51, 52%. Now we're looking at points after 90% is not good enough. Field goal percentage needs to go up. So that's for Montana State to get over the proverbial hump. We need them to shore up those areas.
No, it's clear that a kicking game, you don't ever want to have to come down to a game where it's close enough that a kick is going to win or lose it. But you need to have the ability to do it if it happens. And we did not have it last year. Big step forward needed there.
You know what's interesting about the kicking game, though? We started 6 for 6
I know.
on the year.
It seemed good. And when was it? When did the wheels fall off? Was it Idaho?
No, so we missed 2 of them on Weber State. So we went 66. We went South Dakota State. We hit 3 of them. And Stetson, we hit 3 of them as well. And then Weber State, we missed from 33 and 39.
Makeable.
So then we come back to Portland State. We hit a 21. That's the only one we took. Cal Poly, we hit a 44-yarder, which was awesome. That's the only one.
Was that Hall? Still
I
at that
assume
point?
so, because I don't feel like Kotzman came around until a little bit later.
Yeah.
Because I think Hall went all the way through Idaho. Yeah, that's what happened. Sac State. So here's where it kind of started going off the rails. Sac State, we missed a 33-45. The next week at Idaho, we missed a 48-43. So we missed 4 field goals in a row
over a 2-game stretch.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
And then Northern Arizona, we hit a 42-yarder. That's right. Kotzman comes in and then becomes a fan favorite. Eastern Washington, we hit a 35-yarder. Those are the only 2 field goals we attempt on those 2 games. Montana, we miss a 42-yarder. And then North Dakota State, we miss a 33 and a 49. So,
just can't happen again. I mean, you're not going to be a national championship caliber team if your kicking game is struggling that mightily.
No, the consistency was all over the board.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start feeling good, we start missing it. And then
it's a head case at that point too. Now it's mental. Now they're missing because they both have legs. They both have the ability to do it. Then it became a thing. They got the yips.
Yeah, exactly. It's
The
like
shanks.
baseball or golf. Good point.
Is there anything else you want to talk about personnel-wise? There's obviously one big thing left to talk about, the offense. Have we talked enough about Tommy Olott? Have we talked enough about the running back group? It's hard to remember because we're coming back to this a day later. So, what have we already talked about?
Yeah, and we're going to cover some of the stuff in the offense or in the Golden Coolie question. So I'm just going to say, sure, because I know we're going to talk about a couple other things, but we'll get into the big thing that you're going to talk about.
Well, the big thing, obviously, Tyler Walker, new offensive coordinator. Taylor Housewright, gone. Took a job at Akron and then didn't get the job at Akron. And I'm not entirely sure where Taylor Housewright is at the moment. Did he he's a position coach somewhere, right?
I think he's an offensive analyst in Georgia Southern is what comes to my brain.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, an interesting, Georgia Southern senior analyst. There he is, Google. So we don't need to get into Housewright, why he left. I think we covered that. And if we haven't, I don't really feel like covering it. But we're going to talk about Tyler Walker. What a quick rise for him. He comes to Montana State in 2021 as the director of recruiting. And then he becomes the tight ends fullbacks coach from 22 and 23. And now he's the offense coordinator and also the quarterbacks coach because, what was it, Chucky Keaton they brought in? Yeah. And who bolted immediately
to the NFL.
To the NFL. Yeah. Did he even do any camp or anything? Did he coach a single second?
Couple weeks. Really a couple weeks at most.
So Tyler Walker's also got the quarterback room, so he's mentoring, Tommy for his senior season. It's going to be an interesting season. I think it's going to look largely the same from everything that I've heard. Obviously, the big thing is that there's no Sean Chambers, but I think the philosophy is going to be pretty similar.
Yeah. Tough to tell. We talked to him in the spring. He's a good guy. He's all about getting the playmakers the ball. Do we pass more? That's what I want to see. Is it the run heavy offense that we've been doing? And if so, is that okay? Or do we have more balance?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how he plays it out. But I think we're going to run the ball, rely on running the ball. And I think, how much can you really control a guy like Tommy Olott? They're obviously wanting him to be the less explosive, crazy version of himself, right? That they keep talking about him wanting to be normal. Can you coach that? Can you coach that out of a guy? You could say, Tommy, go down there and, take the easy pass for 5 yards, and then Tommy's going to run the opposite way and throw a 50-yard bomb down the field. I mean, is that something you can really control? I don't know.
With the emergence of our wide receiver core, some big-time playmakers coming back and some new guys coming on, how can you not get those guys the ball? So the question is we have such a deep running back room. The wide receivers are stacked, tight ends, all of it. How do you start spreading touches? And how do you get guys in grooves? If you're Jared White, how many touches are you getting? If you're Scotty Humphrey, how many touches are you getting?
5.
I know.
Scotty maybe more. Enough. Jared White, 5.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough. Because some guys get better throughout the game, right? But you'll never know that.
Running back, some guys definitely get better into a groove. I don't think it's as crucial because there's not the rapport quite required as there is for a quarterback wide receiver combo. So I really think switching Chambers and Malott was really messing up the chemistry, like Ty McCullough said it. But this is a very talented, seemingly is an on paper extremely talented group of wide receivers for the Bobcats.
Mm-hmm.
And having one quarterback throwing the ball around, maybe he's not the best throwing quarterback in the league, but he has the ability. I'm really hoping that it comes together for Tommy and Tyler Walker and the receiving core to become a legitimate passing team. Not rely on the pass, like it's not our bread and butter, but 200 yards a game from Tommy.
Wouldn't that be the narrative halfway through the season, 3/4 through the season, that Montana State's a balanced team? Tommy Mellott racking up the yards in the passing game. But yeah, I think you mentioned last week, 200 yards through the air, 150 on the ground, something like that. It'd be like
you had said something about what was it, 1,800 yards a game or 1,500 yards or for the season?
He passed for
like 177 or something last year.
That's 1,059.
Yeah.
Rushed for 690.
Well, congratulations, Tyler Walker. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think the offense is going to look largely the same, minus the obvious difference of one quarterback system.
Interesting. Hey, just looking at the stats, you can't peek. So Tommy played in 9 games. Sean Chambers played in 12. Who has more passing yards?
Oh man, I should know this. So Chambers only had like 800 something yards.
Oh, there you go. So
I remember it from looking at it yesterday. I'm not peeking, but I just remembered it from peeking yesterday.
Played in 3 more games, but had more. Tommy had more passing yards.
It's because Chambers just comes in and runs the ball up the gut.
Yeah, but in my mind, I also remember Chambers as being a more prolific passer.
Well, yeah, because he came in through those nice, beautiful bombs, but he only threw like 4 passes a game, or less.
It's how you remember him, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So this is a good question, kind of related to the subject of Tyler Walker. Montana Parlay, friend of the podcast. Will there be plays that the defense doesn't see from a mile away, thus protecting our quarterback?
I don't know.
I think it's a little jab at house rights predictability there from our buddy Montana Parlay.
Can you kind of explain that to me? I'm not sure what he means right there.
He thinks that we were really predictable offensively last year.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why Tommy got hurt, because you could see it coming.
Okay.
That's how I'm reading it.
I can see that.
Idaho was particularly glaring in this department.
Gosh, what a frustrating game.
That's one of the most painful games to watch ever, and we still could have won that game. It's such a painful game to watch. 18 yards or 18 minutes of time possession. Idaho just dinking and dunking all over the field, like 6 yards, 7 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, like 3rd and 4, and they get 5 yards. It was like nonstop. That's the most death by 1,000 paper cuts games I've ever seen in my life.
So during that game, we were 5 for 10 on 3rd down. They were 6 for 15 on 3rd down, but they were 3 for 4 on 4th down.
And 6 for 15 is definitely worse than I was thinking in my head.
Yeah, but 3 for 4 killed us because those 4th down, Jason Eck went for it 4 times that game on 4th down. That seems like a lot when you're in the game. At the
end, right? I think we'd finally gotten the stop, and then we couldn't do anything with it. And then they had that
Ironically,
touchdown.
We were 0 for 0. We didn't go for it.
Yeah, because we were like 3rd and like 7 the entire time, or 4th and 7 the entire time.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
What a weird game. Anyways,
let's see. Buy or sell. The Cats will have a 100-yard rusher not named Tommy Mellott in 5 or more games. This is from Danny on Twitter. Dan, my man.
In 5 or more games, 100-yard rusher not named Tommy Mellott? Oh, yeah.
As long as it's not 5 different guys. I'm not sure that we'll have 5 different guys rush for 100 yards.
I'd almost bet my house on that. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I would buy that. Yeah.
Buy all day long. Watch, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another question similar to that. I got to find it real quick here.
Go ahead.
Or how many offensive players will rush for 500 plus yards this season?
Oh.
He gives you a little context. Keep in mind, 300 yards per game equates to something around 4,000 total yards.
So last season, we only had Jared White, Julius Davis, Sean Chambers, and Tommy Mellott go over 500. How many will go this year? I'm going to go 3.
Really?
Yep.
So you got Tommy, Davis, and Scottrey.
Tommy, Davis. I don't know if Davis comes back healthy. That's the big if. Tommy and 2 running backs. I don't know who those are, but you can pick from the stable. Scotchy being one of them. There you go.
I say Tommy and 3 running backs.
Okay.
Because we're going to go 14 games, baby. Might take all 14 games to get there. We just rotate too many guys, and running back seems to get hurt, and I think it's a chance.
Yeah.
So 5 yards a carry to get 500 yards. 100 carries.
Possible.
100
Possible.
carries. Will we have 4 guys with 100 carries?
I don't know. I don't want to do math right now. I love math too.
Yeah.
I just want to do
It's a good question. That's from Pork Belly Futures. Handled Justin Dowler. Is that a dollar?
What are you talking about, Justin Dowler? There's no Justin Dowler. It's Caden Dowler.
I'm saying the handle of the guy who asked us on Twitter. His name is Justin Dowler.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if there's another cousin or relation or just
Gotcha.
Coincidence. Gotcha. Another Dowler Bobcat fan.
Thorny, are we 70% or better buy or sell on field goals?
Buying it. I'm feeling optimistic tonight.
Ooh, I'm selling.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the smart call. Now, if I'm putting money down to it, I might be selling, but Ryan
70%.
Thornburg drinking scotch is saying yes.
7 out of 10. Okay.
7 out of 10 seems attainable. Plus, we're going to try less field goals, I imagine. We're only going to put them in situations where we know we can make it. So our percentage will go up.
Vegan's singing the praise of Kotzman right now.
Who is?
Vegan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's easy to do a lot of good things in practice. I'm not saying it won't translate, but sometimes things don't translate. Tyler Brugman. It's a random shot at the ex-Bobcat player. I apologize. Just a random. I'm sorry. Tyler. Or any other Tyler Brugman fans listening to the podcast. My apologies. Is there any other questions that we haven't answered? I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Quite a few on Bobcat Nation if you're done on the X.
Mike Nice, our buddy Mike. Last question on Twitter on X. Single game tickets went on sale today, and demand outpaces supply. If you had a $30 ticket for sold out Idaho, how much are you marking it up? Currently $122 on StubHub. What are you scalping your ticket for there, Fully? Do people still use the word scalp? With all these third-party resellers, is that even a thing anymore?
I'm not that guy, Mike.
Yeah, honestly, I'm finding a Bobcat fan that I know or like posting a Bobcat Nation and giving it to him at face value.
Yeah, me too.
That's usually what I do.
Yeah, we're more benevolent than Mike is.
Now, I am tempted to purchase a national championship ticket the moment they come on sale, and if the Cats don't make it, mark it up ridiculous. I almost did that last year, and I really wish I would have.
Yeah,
it's an easy few $100 that you're gonna make, especially if a team hasn't been there like the Bobcats were, because everyone's just buying it because they don't know it's gonna come down or whatever, so they're just eating up the high costs. That makes me sound like a vulture. But yeah, I would resell that.
Okay.
But not to a Bobcat fan in a normal Bobcat game, Montana game. Find a fan, or we'd give it away on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards giving it away. It's $30. Make somebody's day.
All right, that's all I got on
new
Twitter.
Bobcat fan. All right. Okay, so there was a couple, Roger. I'm calling you out on defensive questions. I'm not going to talk about those defensive questions until next week. I can't remember which ones we read, actually.
Well, if you read it, I'll tell you if we already answered it.
Canyon Cat says, will Tommy be able to curb his run first mentality and learn to trust his receivers? Can he learn to get down? Yeah, we talked about that one.
I don't know if we answered that specifically, but we certainly talked at length about that already.
All right. Bleeding Blue says, assuming Tommy can stay healthy all year, could this offense be one of the best the FCS has ever seen?
Ever seen? I don't know about that. That's a big bar.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, the Cats scored a lot of points last year. It was like pretty epic. I mean, it could be an elite offense. It could be the number one offense in the country, but there's been some insanely good offenses that could do it all, or throw, like, break records. Like, I just don't know.
To me, it depends on. I kind of want to see what Tyler Walker, what's his tendencies. If we ride, if he's at all different than Taylor Housewright, him and Taylor were good buddies, and so I know he learned a lot from Taylor. I want to see what Tommy does in the passing game. Do we use our receivers like we can? Because I think we could be a full on passing team. We have the guys, right? We could just blow off the top and dink and dunk them down the field. We have the best offensive line in the FCS. We could just run the ball 40 times a game. Who knows, man? It's weird.
I mean, if Alexander and McCullough can be guys that can catch contested balls or deep balls, we've lacked that guy that can do that since Lance McCutcheon graduated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working. We kept trying the same route, the same throw, and it just never worked. It didn't work ever. We just kept doing it, though.
Yeah.
Part of that's on Tommy, and part of it's on the talent. The wide receiver just couldn't get it done. But I'm hoping that this, you got Javonte King, you got the Ryan King. There's got to be someone in that group of 4 guys that we just talked about that can really catch these balls.
I think part of it was on Taylor Housewright too. But that was what Tommy was comfortable with, throwing it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So I think there'll be an improvement in the passing game. I don't see how there can't be.
We said that last year too. Rocky Bearcat says, how many offensive linemen will make the Big Sky team at the end of the season?
3.
Yeah. Name them.
Perkins, Ware, Connor Moore.
Yep. There you go. Good job. All right. Let's see. I think this is a good question. There's a new guy on the board. I don't know if you noticed him. His name is Bobcat Built Texan, and he's coming over. He's kind of following some of the young Texas recruits we have. He says, looking at last year, what was our biggest weaknesses, and do you think we addressed that weakness sufficiently this offseason?
Man, looking at, really stepping back, taking a look at it, and hearing some of the interviews from the players and coaches, I think one of our biggest weaknesses last year may have been Willie Matt Garza.
Okay.
And
that's on the defensive
that's
side of the
true,
ball.
then yes,
I'll let you talk
potentially
about that.
have solved that.
Okay. I still think our biggest weakness is our field goal and kicking game. Not necessarily place kicks, obviously punts, and then Brendan Hall's got that thing dialed. Field goals, point afters, to be determined, right? So not sure. But he has a second question. If everything aligns and we win a natty this year, do you think Vigen stays or does he chase the payday?
Gosh, Vigen seems like a guy who's going to stay. But
yeah, but he applied for the Boise State job.
Did he apply, or was that?
Pretty sure.
I don't remember.
He was a finalist for that, right? He interviewed.
I don't recall that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You win a national championship, sure. I guess he might take off.
Give me yes or no.
What? Well, how is it phrased? Yes, he might go somewhere else. Yes, he might take another job.
All right, so you're leaning more that he would leave if we win the natty.
Yeah. Changing my mind real fast.
I'm going to say he stays. I think the projection of Montana State in the next 5-10 years, if he stays, benefits everybody, including
Well, hold
him.
on. I just remembered a certain young recruit joining the Bobcat squad might keep him in Bozeman for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
What with the sun and all, if you didn't pick up on the reference there. So, man, I might keep him around. Like, you never know.
All right. So the second question to this is a great question as well. Cody Katz says, what are the Coach Vigen's greatest strengths and weaknesses? And can he overcome the weaknesses to take the next step at MSU?
Gosh, that is a good question. You got something for it while I ponder?
I think like hiring some dudes that were questionable, like Willie Mack, and sticking with him. Taylor House, right? Although Taylor had like brilliant moments. Gosh, that's tough. I also think he's got the little bit of the CEO in him that Rob Ash had that I didn't like, that I love that Jeff Choate didn't. Jeff Choate was more of a player's coach. I tend to be more of a player's coach kind of guy, but I don't know. I've heard he is a player's coach, but I also heard other. But my weakness would be I think sometimes he's too loyal to his guys or systems like 4-2-5. Let's say the 4-2-5 wasn't doing it for us. Could we be flexible to do something else? Could we not play the nickel and have 3 linebackers?
So you're thinking that if Bobby Daly came up to Coach Vigen like, hey, we don't got the personnel for this. This isn't what I want to run. Can we do like a 4-3? You think Vigen would be like, nah, 4-2-5, baby?
Mm-hmm. So I think he's too stubborn in some cases, both with his personnel and his systems.
I don't know. That's a hard one. Vigen's. I kind of agree with the hiring of guys that were maybe not great hires, but you don't know that until it kind of doesn't pan out or whatever. But maybe sticking around, like Housewright may have had some character flaws that could have been addressed in a harsher manner, or maybe part of it is just his secrecy on how he handled some things during his tenure. Maybe that's part of it too, like how he handled things. You just don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I would like him to be a little more fiery on like the sidelines and stuff, but he's not like. I think he's certainly more fiery than Ash, though.
100%.
But he's coming after Choate, so it's a weird thing to analyze. But I think he does a good job of getting guys in there that are kind of fiery. He's made some hires of position coaches and stuff that kind of do that for him.
In the past couple of years, I have seen his kind of demeanor kind of come down. But I do remember a critique from him. I think it was from Brooks Nuanez. He said, when the going gets tough, you don't see him on the sideline. He kind of like hides a little bit. And I've never noticed this. He's like, where's Coach Vigen? He's like, he should be the guy calling the shots. There's some moments, and I'm paraphrasing Brooks. This was a long time ago. So if I butchered this, sorry, Brooks, if you're listening. He said, when the moment is going down and there needs to be direction going there, Vigen needs to be the dude. And sometimes he's absent of that, whether he's not in the huddle or he's not asserting himself. The buck stops with him. He needs to be the guy. So that could be a critique.
Yeah, well, that what I was gonna say before you said that kind of lends perfectly into it. Is like he's still having a little bit of trouble winning those big games. Like last year, we lost like every single big game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. I think who did we beat last year? Was it Weber State that was ranked? It turned out to be not even that good of a win in the end. So, and losing to the Grizz in that manner, obviously, does he understand Cat Grizz was a big thing for a while, but he won a couple of them, so not the end of the world. We'll see how he rebounds this year. It's kind of there's a lot of pressure, I think, on the team this year. How does he handle it? How does he handle a pretty tough schedule? You got to win some of those big games. And you got to keep the ship rolling the whole time. The wheels kind of fell off the rail a little bit in the middle of the season last year, and I'm not sure exactly why. But it all rolls up to the head coach, though, in the end.
Yeah, that's a good question, Cody Cat. That's something we'll keep an eye on.
Did he ask for strengths, too?
What's that? What's his strength? Greatest strength?
Did he ask for it?
He did. We didn't talk about that. I think his greatest strength is he's a great organizer.
I agree with that. I think he's a great mind for football. I really do. I think he's especially offensively. I think he's a good mind. I think he's a good coach, and he makes sound game plans and decision making. But
all right,
adaptability in the game is maybe another part of it.
Yeah. And honestly, you just get better at that throughout your coaching tenure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
He seems like a good recruiter.
Yeah. Cat Attack says, do you think the coaches are going to actively build depth behind Tommy and give other quarterbacks meaningful snaps?
You
Maybe
have
not
to.
the first game, but after we have several games where honestly we should win. If Tommy didn't play, given that, do you think they would start like Jordan Reed and or others, and at least let them lead the O for some possessions early in the games?
Well, they better have a plan because, as you said, hurt guys get hurt, and that's unfortunately Tommy's a little bit in that category. So you have to have a plan in case he gets hurt, because I feel like there's a good chance that Tommy's not going to play the whole season. So you got to get him out as soon as the game is in hand. Get him out.
You picture it too. It could be something inconsequential as running out of bounds, and he takes a hit and just I don't know, something tweaks her, right? And you're like, he tries to get up, and he's like, oh, that's not good. And then Jordan Reed comes in, and you're like, all right, well, we'll ride Jordan for a couple. You're like, well, Jordan Reed's gonna stay in the whole game, and turns out, oh man, this is lingering. Jordan, you got the next couple games. Can Jordan Reed take us? They have to have a plan. Absolutely, they have to have a plan. So we'll see what happens. And at that point, if Jordan Reed's not the dude, do we become a run-heavy offense? We really just need a guy who distributes the ball, right? If we have such good receivers, such good running backs, let's get a Nick Foles back there type of quarterback.
I don't think we have a Nick Foles on the roster.
Who knows? You don't know until you see them. All right. One of my favorite questions, because I love this. Smith 427 with 18 total posts comes in. He's online right now, by the way. Are there any new uniform combinations, styles either you are hoping to see this season?
I've kind of just not cared as much over the years on that stuff. I like it when I see it, but I don't sit there and think about it. I don't have wishes. I mean, I always loved the throwback Gold Rush 1984 things, but beyond that, just keep it modern, keep it clean. Nothing too crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's like the most middle-aged response I could ever hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. 1984 throwbacks, nothing special. Don't doctor them up. Bring them back just as they were.
That's correct.
Best uniform Montana State has ever had. Zach Levere told me on the phone, he goes, Montana State should just go all white helmets. I said no. I do like the white helmets, but I love the gold. And then he also gave the buy or sell, or not the buy or sell, but rank the logos, Thorny. M, cat head, and cat script.
Script head M. Although I don't like the cat head on the helmet, so I take that back. Script M cat. I like the cat logo better, but it doesn't look very good on a helmet.
Okay. It did. The best time it did was when they ran the American flag on the military.
Yeah.
Appreciate that thing. I have that logo. Yeah, I have that sticker. It's amazing. Bring that back every year.
Yeah, the nostalgic script though. Love it.
So outside of Montana State doing just the throwbacks, which we've been calling for since they did it with Dakota Prukop.
Yeah. Like 2014 or something.
No one listens to us on this. Please bring it back. I want to see some sort of metallic face mask. You don't have to have full chrome lids. I'm not. Yeah, I don't need like full on organ chromed out lids. But the chrome face mask, I think that looks pretty sharp. Like a blue chrome face mask would look really cool.
Blue chrome face mask could look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Depending on what goes on with the rest of the uniform, though. Can't just be too obvious. Can't stick out too much.
Yeah, it would just be subtle, but it'd be flashy. And I think that'd look pretty cool.
Now, I do love the all-white get-up. White helmets, white everything. I'm always a fan of that.
I've always been a huge fan of white tops, blue bottoms.
Yeah. Yep. Man, now I'm just imagining all these uniform combos. I'm just getting excited for football. I just want to see him run on the field for the first time.
All right. Thorny, you're getting old. You just sound like an old man.
I know,
Just
which
wanna
is
see
usually
him
the
run on
opposite
the
of everything
field.
on this podcast. But on this one, I'm like, nah. Turning into a traditionalist when it comes to uniforms. Or I don't mind the cool stuff. I just don't care. It's like I have nothing. I have no real opinion. It's like, yeah, just put on a uniform and go play some football.
All right. I think that's it. So give us. I'm going to ask you to pick the winner.
Oh, we have so many questions, man. I wasn't prepared for that. Okay, narrow it down to 2.
Okay. Cody Cat with the uniforms or Bobcat built Texan with his. What did he say? I just remember liking it. Anyways. Biggest weakness last year. Or no. It's terrible.
I mean, that was the hardest question to answer, so in some ways it was a good question. It required us to really think about it.
Okay. Let's go. I don't know. You get to pick.
All right, the vegan one. Whoever asked about vegan.
All right. That would be Coach Vegan's greatest strengths and weaknesses. That's Cody Cat. That was a good one.
Woo!
All right, Cody Cat. There we did it. Okay.
And this episode feels like a slog.
Yeah.
2 days of this. 2 days. Oh, man.
Red.
Energy's dipping here at the end, I think. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No. We'll talk defense next week.
Defense next week. Yeah. Go ahead and send us some Golden Coolie questions for the defense. I'm sure we have some that we'll parse out that were submitted this week or in the last couple of weeks that we're kind of shelving until we talk about the defense. Okay. Well, thanks again to Gear Up Sports for being our awesome sponsor for the next upcoming athletic year. We appreciate that. Thanks, everyone, for listening in, tuning in as always. You can always find us on rrcatcast.com. Shoot us an email at rrcatcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send the Golden Coolie questions through email. If you don't have Twitter or if you're not on Bobcat Nation, there is an option. You can just shoot us an email. You can find us on Twitter, rrcatcast. You can find us on Bobcat Nation. I'm Celtic Cat. He's Common Cat. Fully, man. Let's get out of here. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.